Hi everyone, I'm Shahnaz Siganporia from VOGUE India, and my guest today, as you can see, is in every sense of the word iconic. Priyanka Chopra Jonas is a global powerhouse and a force to reckon with, who has scaled the heights, be it Hollywood or Bollywood. Today we're going to talk about a different sort of project. Today we're looking at her latest venture, her memoir, appropriately titled Unfinished. Hi Priyanka, and thank you for joining us today.
Hi Shahnaz, how are you?
I'm good. How have you been?
I'm all right, I'm in London. We're locked
Yeah.
down, but the only thing I'm allowed to do is go to set and back. So shooting away and, creating content. People are demanding it these days. Everyone is at home.
Well, it's one way for us to stay at home and not go bored out of our minds. But congratulations on Unfinished. I mean, I love the title, and I think it's so appropriately titled because, I mean, at the rate you're going, I think we haven't even hit the mid-career mark right now. But as someone in the spotlight, we have all told your story. We've told it in headlines and hashtags and so on. How empowering is it for you to own your own agency, to tell your story in your words?
Well, I'm really glad you said that because I just literally said that in another interview. I was like, people have really written about me in many ways. I've been dinner table conversation. I've been, headlines. Sorry, Diana's going to keep giving her opinion in the middle. But I think I didn't start off this journey with wanting to have an opinion on my life or tell the story of my life. I actually just wanted to write. I was very scared of structural writing, like a book, a
Yeah.
novel, or a screenplay. I've done a lot of op-eds and I've done a lot of prose, and um, I was very excited by the fact that I did want to do a book. And in the process of working with my editor, Pam Cannon, in New York, we kind of came to the conclusion that it would be interesting to tell the story of my life. I was approaching, 20 years of being in the business.
Yeah.
Um, and I started writing it just as like, I couldn't remember a lot about my life. So I just wrote my milestones down, like a roadmap almost of the
Yeah.
things that I remembered and then developed around it. But COVID hit and I went into quarantine and I was at home for 6 months in LA in
Yeah.
my house. And I used to just, that's when I really wrote this book. I'm a very slow typer.
Uh-huh.
So sometimes I type and sometimes I write. But as I was writing this book, it sort of became like a journal for me, like a diary. And I don't know, the floodgates opened and
Just poured out.
I used to think so fast that I started recording my thoughts.
Yeah.
And when you read the book, you'll see my sentences are really long and meandering because it's like my thoughts really. I'm kind of just taking you through what I was feeling. Um, and the book became what it became, It's the one thing definitely to say with this book is it's really not like a testament to my achievements or, ye dekho, this is me. This became very different. I'm terrified of this book coming out, honestly, because it's the most vulnerable version of myself that I have ever showcased. It's a dissection of sort of my failures. It's a dissection of my rejections. It's a dissection of my sorrows and how I got through them. And I think because I was in such a sort of secure place on
Yeah.
the other side of 35, as a woman, I had the ability to dig deep. I've never done it, but I just did with the book. In fact, I took out a few stories because I was like, ye thoda zyada ho
Bit
gaya.
too much. No, but I can
But
imagine
at the
how
same
daunting
time,
is that because you're sharing your own story, and it's also you were writing it during such an unprecedented time. You're home alone. I'm not alone, but you're at home. We're in a very topsy-turvy world. Everything happening around us. Who was your first reader? Because writing is such a solitary activity. You're doing it on your own. But when you pass that on, be it to your editor or your first readers or your group of friends or whoever it may have been, what was that feeling like actually exposing yourself through your words?
well, I had a co-author who was brought on to help me structure the book, and her name is Nan Satter, and she was great in like sort of helping me structure how I wanted to tell my stories and stuff. So she was the first reader actually,
Yeah.
and the person like who was helping me do that. And then it was of course my internal team. Even before my like manager and publicist and all of them, My editor read it. I was very, very tight knit about the book. I didn't want anyone reading it, not even my team, till I had put the story the way I wanted to. But
Yeah.
outside of like my editor, my co-author, I think I would say my mom was the first one to read it.
Okay.
My best friend, my mom, my brother, my husband. Um, that's it. And a few of my cousins who are mentioned in the book. But the
Yeah.
people who were mentioned in the book in a big way, those are the ones who read it. And
And what were those reactions like for you? Because it's quite difficult seeing yourself in someone else's story sometimes. At the same time, sometimes it's just so ingratiating in a way because you realize where they stand in your life and what they mean to you in a way.
yeah, that may be true. But I think like I mostly got, really great reactions from everyone who was mentioned. Clearly, I hold them in high esteem, so they were flattered.
That's always a good thing.
But I think a lot of people who read it, like my close knit family, was very surprised with how deep I went about my feelings and stuff, and that scared me even more because I was like, oh no, or I should edit some more. But but they also said that that's what made it a better read and a good read is because it was from a very real place, and they were pleasantly surprised. So that was one of the first reactions I got. And
Yeah.
then one of my best friends, she was like, "Oh, we should have more gossip in the book," and I was like, "This is not that book.
No tell all there sneakily inside somewhere.
This is my story."
Fair enough, though. But I think when you reach that level of honesty, as you write, it is kind of enlightening for you as well, because you've been an artist for 20 years to take in all of that, to chart your milestones, but also your own growth through that. What were those big realizations that you had because of writing this book?
I mean, the one really big one was I kind of gave myself a break. I patted myself on the back, and for the first time, actually, when I read the manuscript,
Yeah.
I had a moment where I told myself, man, girl, you've been through so much. And you came out of it strong.
Mhm.
Um, and it allowed me to sort of, forgive myself for um, just always running and always like it gave myself the ability to forgive my own insecurities that I had as a younger
Yeah.
person. It was very healing for me, the process of writing the book and addressing a lot of things that I probably never even addressed to myself.
That's so interesting. You've also been sharing a few sneak previews of Unfinished on your social media, from throwback pictures to one very fascinating quote that I feel couldn't have described your journey better. And it makes sense because now I'm going to quote you to you. And in it, you said, from now on, if I was going to be an anomaly, I was going to be the shiniest damn anomaly around. What, according to you, makes you an anomaly? And what gave you the strength to be the shiniest damn anomaly around?
Actually, this happened to me young when I was a teenager, and I've addressed this in the book. It was kind of the beginning of me recognizing that I was different when I walked into a room, for many reasons. When I was in high school, that was the first time I recognized it. I must have been 13, but it was when I left India and went to America for the first time, and I looked around me, and no one looked like me, no one sounded like me, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm different."
Yeah.
And then I suddenly became this teenager from America, high school, wearing makeup, and 16, when I was 16, wearing heels. And I came back to Bareilly, and everybody looked at me like I was strange again. Ki, "Arey bhai, who's this girl, who's coming to army school with heels on and big hair and, um, an American accent? Who's this person?" Again, it was strange. Then I, became Miss India and Miss World, and I was very different from the girls who had so much experience. I was 17 years old. I'd just come from, wearing a uniform into this world of professional modeling.
Mhm.
Again, I was different, and I had to figure out what my strength was. When I joined Bollywood, I was considered very different. I was always, addressed as the dusky one or the unconventional one, and I've all till I reached a certain point in my mid 20s actually, where I realized that that was going to be my strength. I'd been hearing it for almost 10 years, how I'm almost different. Maybe because of my approach, maybe because of the way I look, maybe because of the way I think, maybe because of the way my personality is. I'm ambitious and I'm not afraid of it. I'm not shy of it. I go get what I want. And, I've always been that person. And if I don't get it, that's fine. I'll dust myself off and I'll try something else. But I realized that that was a very different thing about me, and I embraced it. But it happened when I was like in my mid 20s almost.
Yeah.
And that I think was one of the big things, is embracing the fact that I was different, and that's what made me unique and special, instead of trying to fit in.
True, so true. And the one thing I absolutely love about you is how unabashed and articulate you are about your ambition. And I think as women, we need to claim that more. We need to talk about it more. We need to stand on rooftops and scream about it more. But was that always the case, or did you have to face your own inhibitions about being vocal and being just who you are in the spotlight as well? Because it's one thing
I
realizing
have to
you're pushing through the industry, but being that way in the spotlight, in the limelight, with how harsh our glare.
actually, this was me before I even joined the industry. And I have to really give credit to my parents for
Mhm.
their upbringing. I was always raised to have an opinion, even if the room disagreed with me. I was told to voice my opinion, even when everyone else was saying something else.
Mhm.
It's more valuable to have an opinion than to not have one at all, even if you're right or wrong. So I was raised with a large sense of self and a large sense of confidence. Since I can remember, my mother has always said, since I was like maybe 6 or 7, two things. You have to have your courage of conviction. So,
Mhm.
whatever your decision is, you stand by it. Good, bad, ugly, you have to be able to stand by it. Don't be skittish, don't make excuses, don't be afraid.
Yeah.
And the second thing is have financial independence. How do you have financial independence? No matter whose daughter you are, no matter whose wife you are, you stand on your own feet. So, I think my upbringing really lent me to having that sense of confidence. And I feel like as women, that is those are the parents we should aim to become, that give our children a sense of self from when they are very young, boys and girls, specifically girls, to be able to give them a sense of, you will stand on your own feet. You don't need somebody else's hand. You don't need somebody else's feet to stand on. And I think that really made me a little bit fearless in my approach to anything. I may have had insecurities. I may have thought I'm not good enough. I definitely went through a low self esteem issue, but I always knew I had a choice because I was raised with one.
And you're a global champion today with a massive body of work. And you've said earlier, you've mentioned it now, that the key to your success in many ways comes from being fierce, fearless, and flawed. Is that still your key to pushing ahead, breaking barriers?
I think now that was a little bit, I think I've grown from that a little bit.
Yeah.
I think, like, for example, I spent 10 years trying to build my career in Bollywood, and now it's almost 10 years me trying to build it in Hollywood. It's taken that long for me to be at the place I am now, that I'm finally doing the kind of work that I set out to do, and it took a lot of like breaking down doors in a new country and demanding to be looked at outside of the stereotype. And I think that now I'm at a place where I approach things with a larger sense of calm. I still have the ferocity of pace. Like I always still want to like, what's the next thing? I need to do
Mhm.
multiple things at the same time. This year specifically is like crazy. As a producer, as an actor, as an entrepreneur, as an author, all four of these avenues, I'm like really running. So, but it's taken me building it for so many years to get to this point. So now I think I'm at a place where I'm a lot more confident in myself and my ability to deliver, because I've had 20 years of being able to build that foundation of, being confident in my ability to deliver. So I approach it from a little less anxiety and a little less insecurity, I think.
Talking about your ability to deliver and your achievements, we've also just seen your power packed performance in White Tiger. We're picking up a bit of Oscar buzz around this as well. What's White Tiger meant to you as a performer?
Well, it's actually a funny story. I chased after this movie actually as a producer first.
Yeah.
I read it on Twitter when, on one of the trade magazines that The White Tiger was being adapted by Ramin Birani. And I knew that the book was dedicated to Ramin Birani, and I knew Ramin Birani and his work as a filmmaker. And then I also read that it was being made for Netflix, which got me really excited. So I remember I called my agents immediately, and it was in the morning. I was still having my coffee, and I said, reach out to Ramin, tell him I would love if he would take a meeting with me. I would love to support the movie because I know what it takes for sort of an indie movie, a sort of genre film. It requires support for the world to be able to see it. It needs eyeballs. So I was like, I want to support the movie, and then I met Ramin in Mumbai. I always knew that Pinky's role in the book originally is
Yeah.
very like from the perspective of Balram. She's not really her own person, it's how he sees her. But
Absolutely.
then Ramin told me that he's developed Pinky's part, and I was like, yes, can I? I would love to do it. I need to do it. Because also, I've done some amazing work in India. I've played so many variety of roles. I've done so many different genres of films, worked with so many filmmakers. Whereas in America, my career is still a little nascent. I'm just about stepping into those kind of parts where I can, really dig in and have credibility for myself as an artist, not just for, what I look like or my stardom or all of that. And that was something that is really a quest of mine, and I'm really going after it in this new phase in my life. And The White Tiger was one of the first steps into that direction. And I met Ramin in Mumbai. I auditioned with him I met him in New York. I met him in LA. I chased after him, and thankfully I got the job. But I'm very, very proud of it.
Yeah.
It's my second movie as an EP in America. And it's a movie that I am very proud of for a couple of things. One, I don't think this movie with this budget would have been made 5 years ago with an Iranian director and
Yeah.
all Indian star cast told in India with a story written by an Indian novelist. Like that would not have happened. It took Netflix and their desire to tell global stories, that it took them believing in it so much to be able to make it like this. And I think, Raj being so gracious to attaching as playing Ashok, and then Adarsh was an incredible find for us. I mean, that role was desired by a lot of actors around the world, but Ramin was so specific about the kind of person who was going to be our white tiger. So, I'm very, very proud of it because it is a South Asian story being told in a very authentic, true way in Hollywood. And I feel like we don't have representation, not just for South Asian stories, but for like minorities. If you think about it, we are 1/5 of the world's population. But if you think about English language global entertainment, we don't see 1/5 of the movies catering to where we come from or our stories. And I didn't have that again when I joined America. I had to really like demand and also create my own
Yeah.
um, stories which were South Asian and align with that. So, that's one reason I'm very proud of it. And also because, as an actor, I got to really delve deep and play an immersive role with a director that I really admire.
Is that one of the reasons you also shifted into producing? It's this ability to tell your own stories your way.
Well, when I started producing in India,
Yeah.
I didn't produce anything that starred me, actually. I wanted my company to stand on its own feet. And I wanted to go where people weren't going at that time. I started with regional stories. I didn't go the conventional Bollywood way or the
Yeah.
Hindi movies way. I told smaller stories with new filmmakers, new writers. I wanted to put my money where my mouth is of creating opportunity. And I've worked with some amazing filmmakers. We won national awards along the way. It was great. Then when I pivoted here, that a big reason was again creating opportunity, but also for myself.
Mhm.
So because here I wasn't, getting them. It was something like I'm creating a lot of features and shows that are starring me, but also many that are not. And I've had the good fortune of having enough credibility now in the industry to have like a first look deal with Amazon where I'm creating content for them, to have a second look deal with CBS Viacom where I'm creating content for them as a producer. So, it takes like a journey, it takes like investing in yourself. But yeah, I think my reasoning has always been very intentional.
And you've come such a long way with that, I think, and that's just the power of your focus and your purpose. You get to see it on screen, you get to see it off screen with the various work you do, be it as a philanthropist, as a tech entrepreneur, and so on. um what how do you understand your evolution as an artist, as an entrepreneur for that matter, in your own right over the years?
I mean, I don't understand it.
That's booked.
And I don't claim to. I'm just a girl who has a lot of energy, and I just want to always be on an upward trajectory as much as I can. I strive every day for excellence, every day in whatever I do, whether it's my interview with you. I want to make sure you have the best framing. I want to make sure you have the best conversation and you feel engaged. So from something as small as us having a conversation to the larger things that I do in my various verticals, I think I've always just, I strive for excellence, and that's all. I don't try to understand it. I just look for opportunity. I try to recognize opportunity in something that'll excite me. I want to feel a tingle every morning when I wake up. I want to jump out of bed and be excited about my job. My career is very self made. Everything that I am has been built on my back, and I take pride in it. So I think that's all I look for.
I think that's amazing and a lovely note to end on. Thank you so much, Priyanka, for your time. I wish you all the best with your memoir, and everyone watching, do go out, grab a copy because it is amazing. It's available online. It's called Unfinished. And thank you for joining us today. That's it from us for now. Goodbye and stay safe.